Burning tires and rubble were used as barricades. The protests caused havoc during the morning rush hour. Residents described the situation as dangerous and scary. Commuters could not get to work, and business in the area did not even open.
It's very frustrating because some of my customers is farmers. They're coming from all out from the country, and then when they come in here, they can't get to buy me, and then I have to send my deliveries out there, and it's very frustrating.
Locals say the Walmer township is neglected when it comes to development and houses. The community wants housing project to be fast-tracked.
There is an area that is area 2. Those people are still staying on the shacks. Municipality is raiding them water. They got what the municipality mean? Bills from the municipality. They don't have toilets. They don't have taps. They're getting water from the standing tap on the street. That is all I can say about that area. They don't have houses.
The Nelson Mandela municipality says it's working on the...
All right, we interrupt this program to cross live to Parliament, where there's a debate on the Falam Commission report.
Marikana,
and let's cross live there now.
It's a political football. We have always been on the ground, particularly with the poor masses of our people. And therefore, the core leadership of the EFF, when it intervened in Marikana, it didn't do so because it sought votes, because even at that time, there was no EFF. We related and we've been with the people of Marikana before the formation of the EFF, because we are genuinely concerned about the issues of the workers in the mines. Marikana was a matter that was facilitated in a clear daylight, and under the political influence and supervision of politicians, many of whom continue to enjoy privileges of this house. Bureaucrats and ground forces of this murderous regime must not be the only ones that take full blame on Marikana. There must not be another Eugene de Kock who gets sacrificed for all the political sins of the apartheid regime, and political principles are celebrated as peacemakers. A closer reading of the Commission report reveals the following facts. The events recounted in the Marikana Commission report on activities of the 14, 15, 16 of August 2012 reveal strongly that massacre of Marikana, it was a premeditated mass murder of workers. In the words of Nkosi Kona Mjuba, a mine worker in Marikana who was at scene 2, he said, the police officers started shooting the mine workers with long and short firearms. Some mine workers put their hands in the air to show they were not fighting. The report confirms that Police General Mbombo spoke about blood spilling, referred to the 16th of August 2012, the D-Day, and even organized mortuary vehicles prior to the premeditated mass murder of mine workers. The very fact that the tactical response team of SABC was deployed to Marikana with live ammunition rounds is evidence enough that the intention and plan was to shoot to kill. Judging by the speech of Police Commissioner Ria Piecha and the then Minister of Police after the killing of the workers, they certainly were aware and approved of the mass killing of workers. What this means is that the ANC government, with the influence of business politicians, in particular Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, premeditated the killing of mine workers in Marikana. They engaged in what in law is known as conspiracy to commit murder.
Point of order.
Mr. Cyril worker murderer Ramaphosa played a certain role in influencing the police to take a concomitant action against the workers.
Honorable Malema,
as criminals.
There's a point of order, Honorable Malema.
Management.
Honorable Malema.
By the first part, chapter 9C6,
Honorable Malema,
report which says Lieutenant
Honorable
General
Malema,
Bombo
please.
also mentioned that when she spoke
Honorable
to the
Malema.
police, Minister
Point of order, Chair.
Mr. Ramaphosa,
Point of order, Chair.
Honorable Malema.
It is clear
Honorable
that
Malema.
Bombo felt pressure of Ramaphosa as she was at pains to explain to Mr. Mokoena that the person who telephoned the minister was a politically influential, an indicator they perceived that Mr. Ramaphosa influenced that decision to murder the workers. The commission also accepted that Mbombo took into account irrelevant political consideration the situation at Marikana. She did not want the mining companies to be seen to be supporting AMCU. She did not want mining companies...
Honorable Malema, your time has expired.
No, my time has not expired.
It has. Once it's read, it means it has expired.
You are interfering with my
Honorable Malema, I asked you to sit for a point of order. You refused.
I didn't hear.
Now my time, I say your time has expired.
But I didn't hear the point of order. I was dealing with serious matters.
You did not respond. Honorable Malema, Honorable Malema, please, there is a process in this house. And we all accept the rules of this house. And I asked you to sit down so that I can take the point of order. You ignored us and continued. Now your time has expired. Please.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Khadebe.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Khadebe.
The departing member here has referred to the Honorable President, Cyril Ramaphosa, as if he has planned the murder of the Marikana workers. It is out of order. He said he's a murderer. It's out of order. I think that we must take decisions around that. Thank you.
I'm going to make sure that we listen to the Hansard because there was a lot of noise. I couldn't hear it, and then we will rule on it. Thank you very much. Honorable Shibambu?
No. Wanted to clarify that there's nothing wrong.
No, that's not a point of order.
Wanted to clarify that, gentlemen.
Honorable, that's not a point of order.
When people premeditate murder,
thank you. Can I now call Honorable Bierkman to the podium?
Honorable House Chairperson, honorable members, fellow South Africans.
Order, honorable members. Honorable member, please.
The events at Marikana in the period leading up to 16 August 2016 saw the deaths of 2 police officers and 11 miners. On 16 August 2015, 34 miners were killed and 70 injured. This tragic event led to the President to establish the Commission of Inquiry, generally known as the Farm Commission, to investigate the incident.
Order, Chair.
The ANC once again wants to record its condolences to all the families and friends of those who died during the
please
tragedy.
take your seat. Honorable Maxon.
Chair, the speaker's list is still wrong. This man I don't think is Tunjwa.
Who is this man?
Oh, the honorable member on the podium is not Honorable Tunjwa. So please correct the thing.
What is happening?
The speaker's list is wrong.
On the electronic document. Okay, I have a hard copy which is correct. The one that is here is the one for health. Can we ask the technical team to rectify that? Please.
House Chairperson, the ANC once again wants to record its condolences to all the families and friends of those who died during this tragedy. We also think today of the families of those persons who were killed after 16 August 2012 and whose murders fell outside the scope of the inquiry. It once again reminds us that in a debate on a matter of national importance, we cannot try to score cheap political points or try to introduce pseudo findings that are actually personal attacks or make unfounded allegations. The previous speaker referred to honourable members of this House, and there was no factual findings made against any of those members of this House. The focus should be today to analyse the findings, implement the recommendations, and move forward as a nation. The President, in announcing the Commission, indicated that it was appointed to investigate matters of public, national and international concern of the Marikana incident that took place during that time. It also be appropriate today to acknowledge the Commission chaired by retired Judge Farlam and advocates Hendrai and Tukai for their contribution in executing their mandate. My focus would be on the findings with regard to the conduct of the SAPS and the related matters. The report that was released on 30 June 2015 made various recommendations regarding to the police and management of the police. It's our considered view that the recommendations will have repercussions for the SAPS as an institution, and in particular the management of SAPS and the public order policing in general. The report made very clear recommendations on the role of police management, the current National Commissioner and the former Provincial Commissioner for North West. We take these recommendations very seriously indeed. The first finding with respect to the SAPS management was that it misled the public through a report which had been prepared for the President and the Minister. The second finding is that the SAPS management attempted to mislead the Commission at the highest level regarding a tactical plan which was drawn up without the public order police being present. The Commission also recommended that steps be taken in terms of Section 9 of the SAPS Act to inquire into the fitness of the National Commissioner to retain in a post and whether she is guilty of misconduct to mislead the Commission. The President of the Republic indicated on Tuesday, 11 August 2015, when he addressed the nation, that he is considering the matter and further announcements would be made in due course. We believe that this is the correct approach to ensure that due process prevails. Chairperson, the Commission made a wide ranging of recommendations on reforming public order policing, which determines how the police should react to situations such as service delivery protests, union marches and political demonstrations. The policing recommendations are centered amongst others on further investigations, weapons, professionalization, control over operational decisions, standing orders and other prescripts, police equipment, first aid and accountability. The report recommends that a panel of experts be appointed, comprising of senior officers of SAPS and experts of public order policing from international renown, both local and international, who have experience in dealing with crowds armed with sharp weapons and firearms as presently prevalent in South Africa, to 1, revise and amend Standing Order 262 and all other prescripts relevant to public order policing. 2, investigate whether public order policing methods are inadequate, the world best practices and measures available without resorting to the use of weapons capable of automatic fire. Having done so, to implement a training program where all public order policing members are extensively and adequately trained in such measures and methods. We agree with the recommendation that in public order situations, operational decisions must be made by an officer in overall command with recent and relevant training, skills and experience in public order policing. We agree with the endorsement of the National Development Plan by the Commission and its recommendations for SAPS to implement, inter alia, the Code of Conduct that should emphasize the fundamental duty of SAPS to be accountable for the use of force and to account honestly to the public. And no officer may be appointed to higher ranks until they have passed the appropriate training for that rank. The principles recommended by the Commission ties in with the approach adopted by the government in addressing the legacy of the past. In 1994, the democratic government highlighted the inappropriateness of the apartheid policing methods and introduced a process of wide-ranging reform towards civilian policing, including the Constitution, the SAPS Act, the National Crime Prevention Strategy of 1996, and the 1988 White Paper on Safety and Security. An important policy initiative to fast-track police reform is the White Paper on Police, which was tabled in 2014 and what was recently discussed in Parliament. The White Paper provides a policy framework for achieving the policing vision contained in the National Development Plan, emphasizing the need to 1, make the police service professional, demilitarize the police, build safety using an integrated approach, and build commitment, participation in safety. It presents 2 strategic shifts. It separates the police-focused policy from a broader policy on safety and security. Furthermore, it provides a framework that will regulate the SAPS as part of the broader public service and enhance effective civilian control over the SAPS. The approach is that the 21st century policing requires a professional, well-resourced and highly skilled police service. Demilitarization of the police service should return policing to the ideals of the Constitution and in line with the recommendation of the NEP. A demilitarized police service that displays a firm commitment to carrying out constitutional mandate and embracing a human rights culture. A civilian police service must be responsive to the diverse communities and display an approach to policing that is fair and accountable. It also includes community-centered policing that builds trust. The Honourable Minister of Police have announced that he will brief the Portfolio Committee on Police on 26 August 2015 with regard to the implementation of the recommendations of the Farm Commission insofar it relates to SABC. It will be therefore up to Parliament and its committees to monitor government departments on the implementation of the recommendations made by the Farm Commission and provide regular feedback to the South African nation. We believe that accountability is essential and police conduct must be subject to regular, independent review and oversight aimed at building legitimacy and trust. The NDP envisage a police service that is trusted by the community. The White Paper envisages a police service that must reflect the diversity of the South African context and have the necessary skills, knowledge and sensitivities to police communities with their own unique policy challenges. The recommendations of the Farm Commission is therefore in line with the work that is currently being done by the Civilian Secretariat for Police and the Police Ministry. It's therefore essential to maintain the momentum for delivery and implement the necessary reform. While we await the formal response from the Minister of Police on the implementation plans to deal with the Farm Commission response, we welcome the roadmap on the White Paper that was presented to the Portfolio Committee on Police on the 5th of August. It makes provision for, inter alia, the following. A phased approach to the implementation of the proposals contained in the White Paper, an audit of senior managers to ensure appropriate placement of managers, the review and alignment of the SABC Act and the regulations with the Constitution, to activate a task team to coordinate integration towards a single police service, and monitor and evaluate implementation. The NDP chairperson sets 5 priorities for the achievement of the above vision. Strengthen the criminal justice system, make the police service professional, demilitarize the police, build safety using an integrated approach, and build community participation in safety. Chairperson, the ANC is committed to these priorities. We are committed to the implementation of the Farmer Commission recommendations. Let us allow the relevant processes to unfold in line with the relevant legislation and prescripts. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Bierkman. The Honorable, the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, House Chairperson, honorable members, visitors in the gallery, Bakhaitsu Dumela. On Sunday, we will remember the lives of the 44 South Africans who died in August 2012. For 3 years, the families of those who died waited for the Marikana Commission of Inquiry report to be released in the hope that it would provide answers and closure. It provided neither. In fact, the failure of the president to assign political responsibility for the massacre is indefensible. Not a single member of the executive or the South African Police Service has been held to account for the loss of life. In fact, it should rightly be with this government, the ANC government. The Minister of Police came here earlier on and justified it by simply saying accountability never took place during apartheid. Why should it take place now? Minister of Police, surely the standards cannot be apartheid. We are reducing our society to the worst evil that has occurred in our nation. But of greater insult to the victims is that the report concluded that, in terms of reference, precluded it from making recommendations regarding compensation. Instead of taking a decisive stance in the interest of justice and compassion, the president simply passed the buck. This week, the families of the 37 miners killed at Marikana filed a civil case against the Minister of Police claiming compensation for the loss of their loved ones. They've been forced to do so out of necessity. Those men who died on that day were not only miners, they were breadwinners, they were caregivers. Those 37 miners supported 326 dependents between them. They were striking for a living wage to support their extended families in the Northwest, in the Eastern Cape, in Gauteng, Lesotho and Swaziland. Their families are now approaching the courts to have their lifeline that was cut off from them 3 years ago restored. They're not making excessive demands. They're simply asking for compensation for the direct loss they suffered in August 2012, including the loss of financial support, expenses related to trauma counseling, and the loss of family life. Essentially, all they're asking the court to do is to put value on the life of a miner. But those miners were worth more than the income that served as a lifeline to their families. They were fellow human beings with dreams and aspirations who worked and lived in often unbearable conditions because they cared for their loved ones. They died for their dignity, and so they cared about would have been opportunities that many of them did not have. There's something fundamentally wrong with a system that now leaves these families at the mercy of the legal process, which could take years to conclude simply to put food on the table. The irony behind all of this is that the Marikana inquiry cost 153 million rands to reach a set of conclusions that didn't certainly allow for the president to bring justice, closure, or compensation. Including the fact that the security guards and the police officers that died during the process, this amounts to 3.5 million rands per life lost. The DA remains committed to ensuring that the lives of those who died are not devalued and that their families of victims in Marikana are compensated for this particular loss. The DA is in the process of investigating legislative options to ensure that the state takes responsibility for their actions. Whether it's through an order of the court or a result of a legislation passed in this house, this government must pay for what took place at Marikana that day. Honorable members, as we reflect on the Marikana massacre, we must ask ourselves what has happened to the sense of common humanity which we had when we entered into our democratic era in 1994. It is a country that was once a torchbearer of freedom and equality, and it should be necessary for the families of victims who died a brutal death at the hands of the state to have to fight to be able to survive. It should not be necessary for them to go to court to ask the Minister of Police at back then, Natim Tetwa, to apologize for the massacre. The Marikana report shows the extent to which members of the executive use their influence to protect the interest of mine owners at the cost of the lives of the miners that day. President Jacob Zuma has failed in his duty to hold the executive to account for Marikana. Instead, he's attempting to lead the public that the commission found that the executive played no role in the decision of the police to implement the tactical option on the 16th of August in 2012. Let me correct that. The truth is that the commission went to great lengths to emphasize that as a result of evasive and unhelpful testimony, specifically from the National Police Commissioner Ria Piecha, it was unable to find favorably in favor of Minister Mthethwa. It remains inconceivable that the decision to implement the tactical operations on the 16th of August were made without Minister Mthethwa's knowledge. It would seem he's also the same. He's Minister Angazi. He doesn't know what happened. But instead, to order 4,000 additional rounds of R5 ammunition for delivery at Marikana, as well as the request for 4 mortuary wagons at the scene, shows that the SABC had no intention of being accused of bringing a knife to a gunfight. It was rather the miners who unmistakably made that fatal mistake. We may never know the full truth behind the chain of events that ended with the death of 34 miners on the 16th of August, but it was clear, and it's a conscious decision, that the loss of life was both likely and an acceptable outcome. So, honorable members, regardless of the financial value of the miner, to those involved in making the decision that led to them to their death, their lives were worthless. The miners were deemed expendable if it meant bringing an end to the strike. This is the real crime. President Zuma's government does not value the lives of all South Africans equally. They're interested in protecting their own at expense at protecting the Constitution. Marikana was not an aberration. It was a symptom of the sickness that President Jacob Zuma has inflicted on his government. The events that led to the deaths of Marikana did not happen in isolation, but in the context of a greater socio-political condition South Africa finds itself in. In remembering Marikana, we must not only direct our anger solely at the SABC, but also at the greater failure of this government to deliver a fairer society with greater access to economic opportunities. In 1994, South Africans made a collective decision to embrace a democratic government in a hope that it will be able to rectify the injustices of the past. What is tragically sad is that it's the same injustices that remain today. Negi ile ko Marikana ka kopana le lelapa la mme o latlhegetsweng ka lelapa le o mpleletse ka tsela sokolang ka teng ebile a sena le madi a go itlhokomela ya gage kgang ga se ene fela ke bontsi ba ba nnang ko Marikana ba ba santsane ba bona go ditšhono tsa bone di fedile. Society ya rona ka jeko is still divided on economic inequality, and still many are denied access to opportunities that others take for granted. You see, honorable members, we have a dream that says that we want to build a South Africa that is built on freedom, fairness, and opportunities, that opens up opportunities for South Africans to be participants in this economy. Yesterday, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa stood here and simply said, if there's a government that cares about job creation, it is President Jacob Zuma's government. Where are the jobs? Why are the people not being able to find work? Instead, the president came here and said he didn't even know that Glencore's mining license was being removed. Honorable members, we cannot defend the executive while South Africans are living in a manner that is suffering. This government must take responsibility for its actions if we are going to ensure that the events in Marikana never reoccur. The DA believes that the purpose of government should not be enable to South Africans to use their freedoms to pursue a life their way.
Your time has expired.
The best way to honor the lives of Marikana,
Honorable Leader of the Opposition, your time has expired.
Thank you very much.
You know, I feel for those kids who are there. I think we must remind ourselves of Rule 49 so that these kids can learn what Parliament is about and that it has rules. Rule 49, I'm going to read it so that all the speakers that are coming here must be able to recognize that. It reads, whenever the presiding officer rises during a debate, any member then speaking or offering to speak shall resume his or her seat, and the presiding officer shall be heard without interruption. Can we have Honorable Mngwango taking the debate forward?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. This report is actually tantamount to a whitewash of culpability in respect of any senior political or police force official. It is an order to exoneration for those that are deemed more equal than others. Make no mistake, Marikana was a great and horrific tragedy, and one that should have never occurred. It leaves in the wake a long trail of broken families and communities. The question is, what needs to be done in order to prevent another Marikana from occurring? Firstly, we must scrutinize and reform our SABC training in public order policing in accordance with the standards of international best practice. SAPS officers at Marikana, through their decisions taken, revealed a disconcerting level of inadequacy for the task at hand. Bad decisions were made and people paid the price with their lives. Secondly, leadership. And this goes as well to the current poor state of morale currently found in our SAPS personnel countrywide. Leaders must be fit for the purpose of the office which they hold. The office of the National Police Commissioner is no place for anyone but a career-seasoned police official. Civilians have no place in such office. The Inkatha Freedom Party has time and again called for the Honorable President to remove the National Commissioner of Police, Ria Piecha, from her post, citing her not being in any way fit for the office which she holds, as can be evidenced by the actions she ordered during and the statements she made in the aftermath of the tragedy. Accountability and responsibility should also have been taken by the Minister of Police and the Minister of Mineral Resources. Why was the situation at Marikana allowed to become as volatile as it did? Why did it take the government so long to intervene? Why was there insufficient mediation? We agree that there must be a full and further investigation by the National Prosecuting Authority under the direction of the Director of Public Prosecutions, with a view to ascertaining criminal liability on the part of all members of the South African Police Services who were part to the events that unfolded and in which minors lost their lives. This must also include possible culpability on the part of Lonmin executive, as well as all senior police officials and government representatives who were involved on that fateful day. Our efforts today prevent another Lonmin massacre in the future. Let's make them count. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mngango. Honorable Kubiso.
House Chairperson, thank you very much, honorable members. The NFP sees no closure of the chapter of the Marikana saga in the foreseeable future. We see no healing of wounds, no soothing of pain suffered by workers and families, and nothing said about compensation of the families and workers, some of whom will forever remain physical and disabled and psychologically scared. It is abundantly clear from the report that the top police management were found to have been complicit in giving instruction to senior police officers, their subordinates, and also directors or brigadiers about the actions the latter needed to take. These actions resulted in a dismally poor handling of the situation, rife with carelessness and negligence, and actions which ultimately led to the Marikana massacre. The NFP finds it appalling that the families of the deceased, the workers, and particularly the workers that were injured, still have to endure the pain and agony because panels and meetings are still going to sit to adjudicate on matters of how the Marikana report is to be taken forward. An astronomical amount of 153 million, which was spent on the investigation and compilation of the report and the report for the commission, it was spent and still going to be wasted. A lot of time was spent too. 300 hours in total. 300 hours in total. Yet nothing is said about workers and families' compensation because the terms of reference of the commission were not wide enough. The agony, the torment, and the pain of the families and survivors will be extended because the National Prosecuting Authority has to conduct further investigation since no one is held accountable for the Marikana matters. The NFP is also cautious to accept the findings of the report, which absolves the executive. In particular, we are questioning the exoneration of the then Minister of Police in this report. In her testimony to the commission, Commissioner Piecha alluded to the guidance of the executive, and this inadvertently points to the possible ministerial intervention. We believe that this aspect was not fully explored or dealt with in the report. If one looks at the entire report, one can safely but sadly say the families of those who died at Marikana are once again denied justice. Lonmin is also implicated in the report for its failure to deal efficiently with the issue of salaries, which set aside the stage for the tragic events which were to unfold. We believe as the NFP that the salaries of mine workers must reflect the value of the labor's contribution to the wealth generated by the mining operation in an equitable proportion to benefits. In addition, Lonmin has not pronounced on compensation. Neither has the state. For the NFP, we think and we feel the issue of compensation and families is paramount. Let's pay for them. They suffered, and we need to do that. All parties must talk about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Filtani.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. The widows and orphans of Marikana are still in tears, 3 years on. The few minutes of gunfire that reverberated through the length and breadth of our country snuffed out lives of poor workers as if they were of no consequence. The brutal murder in Marikana is yet another grim reminder of the profound illness that afflicts our country. Each one of the people who lost their lives in Marikana during those days was a unique human being. The son of some mother and father, the father of some child, a husband to some woman, a person linked to a home, to a community of relatives and friends who had loved him, cherished and nurtured him for many years in the hope that there will be a continued and a shared future. This deceitful attempt to attribute responsibility for the massacre only to those in the top admin echelons of police service betrays a deep-seated contempt for the people of this country. It also demonstrates how lacking our leadership is to commitment to democracy. All South Africans, irrespective of their socio-economic standing in society, have the right to hope, the right to life itself. No power must be allowed in our land to destroy the thirst for human dignity. As South Africa continues to celebrate the Women's Month, many women in Marikana will be marking the 3rd year as widows due to the lethal force of the democratic state police. Less is being said about these poor souls who can only rely on pending civil claims against the police in order for them to feel that they get justice and compensation from our government. Many children who were supposed to be celebrating with their mothers this month can only be reminded of the brutality that robbed them of their fathers. These children can no longer enjoy life of a full family with a mother and a father due to the most ever experienced police brutality in post-apartheid South Africa. These women and children whose hope for a daily bread was taken away have nowhere to look at for peace and security and hope. No one, beside those who lost their lives and their widows and orphans, have paid and are paying the price from that massacre. Firstly, the UTM has written to the President of the Republic and proposes as follows. These widows and families must be compensated for the death of their breadwinners in the hands of the police. In this regard, a compensation fund should be established. Secondly, Marikana massacre should be marked and commemorated annually as a national day of mourning. This will remind the companies that they cannot continue treating people as if they were just commodities, whilst they rake in profits and miners and communities being wasted aside. The UDM once more appeals to our government to seriously consider urgently setting up this compensation fund, not that people should care the expense of having to approach government. They have voted for the government, they are citizens of this country, they deserve better than they have gotten so far. We appeal as the UDM.
Honorable Member, your time is up. Thank you very much. Honorable Majisha.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. You know, I look around and see some of the men and women with whom I served for almost 1.5 decades in the trade union movement and who were sent to this house by the workers of our country to come and represent them. One of those men is the Deputy President of South Africa, who was at some stage, yes, the General Secretary of the NUM, the mine workers. And he stood during his time, he so said, to protect the workers of our country. Now what has happened, comrades? I want to say that he is one of the men who own the largest part of that particular company that killed the people of our country. And today, as men and women, not only in this house, but throughout the country, are crying because our children, those people who are there, men and women, don't know what is going to happen to them tomorrow. I look on my right-hand side and see, I want to emphasize, I can actually point out at some of the men and women with whom I sat in the executive. And I'm extremely disappointed. Now, I want to say that there are a number of things that have got to be done. We demand that the Marikana victims get housing. Yes, I agree with EFF here. They must indeed get housing. Those people, 500,000, not one bag, 2 bags, not actually 500, but 3.2 million rand, for your information. Now, I am saying that the people in Marikana must get housing. I am saying that the people in Marikana must get proper education facilities. Hope says that people in Marikana, the injured in particular, must get continued assistance medically, and all the remaining people, the injured, not only in Marikana, but even beyond our borders, have got to
Honorable
be assisted.
Mukoni,
but apartheid has come back, and ANC is a terrible organization. You are a terrible organization, ANC. ANC, you are terrible. Lebaloi.
We call on Honorable September.
Chair.
Oh, Honorable September, you can just take your seat. Let me take Honorable Member.
Chair, it can't
Order, honorable members.
It can't be parliamentary for Honorable Madisha to call ANC members witches. Can't be. What is Batagat is Baloi. It can't be parliamentary. Can't be.
Okay. Leshata le le na lo go mpha mathata le la lena aka kwa manjwao. What I'm going to do, I will make sure that the Hansard is brought to us. We listen to it. It's unparliamentary to say so, but we will listen to the Hansard. Thank you.
Chair?
Can we continue? Order, honorable members. Can you allow honorable member?
Chair, can I address you?
Yes.
Chair, when responding or calling a political organization certain things like the ANC call the DA racists, that has been ruled parliamentary. It's only when you refer to an individual member by name, that's when it's not parliamentary. So what the honourable member said about the ANC as a terrible organisation is parliamentary.
Honourable Manzi, that's why there was a lot of noise. Maybe you didn't hear me, my preamble to the ruling. There was a lot of noise. I could not hear exactly what he said. That's why I am saying I will listen to the Hansard and then I will come back. Order, honourable members.
Honourable House Chair.
Yes, Honourable Chief Whip.
You would note that all opposition parties, they were clapping hands as Honourable Madisha was calling the members of the ANC witches.
Okay. I couldn't hear that, Honourable. I think I've ruled on this matter, Honourable Chief Whip.
Listen to my point.
Okay.
My point is that Honourable Waters believes that Honourable Madisha is a cheerleader of the opposition on the ANC.
That's not a point of order. Anyway, I've ruled on the matter already. Thank you very much. Can I allow Honourable September? Order, honourable members. Where are my children? Oh, they are gone. Honorable members, continue, Honorable September.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. House Chairperson, honorable members, guests in the gallery, ladies and gentlemen, goeiemiddag. The President indeed took responsibility, House Chair, when he appointed the Honorable Judge Ian Gordon Farlam, a respected retired judge of the Supreme Court of Appeal, as chairperson of the Commission, and indeed Advocate Bantu Bonke Regent Tokata, SC, and Advocate Pingla Devi Hemraj, SC, as additional members. We must thank them for a sterling job that they have done to navigate successfully through very difficult moments to fulfill the task that they had at hand. The release of this report of the Judicial Commission finally brings to light the truth around the tragic incident. The Farlam Commission presents a very different perspective in this regard. We further trust that this will now bring our nation a step closer to healing. We completely support House Chair, honorable members, President Jacob Zuma's sentiment when he released the report that such incidents have no place in a democratic South Africa. And of course, our hearts also go out to the families of those persons who were killed after the 16th of August 2012, whose murders fell outside of the scope of the inquiry. The violence and the murders after that day fell outside, so let us remember at least some of those victims today. Let us remember Dumasani Mtenti, let us remember Dalueo Bongo, let us remember Mbulelo and Tito, let us remember Ms. Nombugile Nora Madoda, let us remember Brown Willem Sitilele, who was the branch chairperson who was assassinated before he could go to the commission. Let's remember Percy Richard Lettanang, also a shaft steward that were murdered on the 2nd of November 2013. House Chairperson, it's important today to take a principled approach to this debate. And the principal approach to this debate is to examine the terms of reference and the findings of the Commission in the context of what Marikana is. If we as Parliament are to come out of this debate with recommendations that will assist the situation. An unprincipled approach to this debate will move outside of the terms of reference which relate to an incident and will seek to opportunistically use the tragedy of the Marikana to promote the subjective and narrow interests of a particular political party, claim that they are the panacea for the answers, as if Marikana did not exist before August the 16th, absolve themselves from any responsibility and apportion blame subjectively to individuals and political parties or the government, as we've heard some of the speakers before me. What the terms of reference did not ask for is maybe a socio-economic analysis of the mining sector, the living conditions surrounding the mines, the towns that were established as a result of the mining operations, a historical materialistic evaluation of the South African mining sector, and an assessment of the economic practices of the identified mining company Lonmin. I will of course return to this later. With regards to the Commission, we've heard all sorts of different views here today. Our response as the ANC was simply to say that on the release of the findings in June 2015, of course the ANC welcomed the recommendations by the Commission to strengthen the capacity of the state to discharge its duties in respect of public order policing, and we called on our government to urgently implement all the recommendations. So too those areas of the executive, and so too those areas of Lonmin, and so too those areas of the two unions, NUM and AMCU. Let's be reminded, honourable members, that the migrant labour system has been the backbone of the mining industry in South Africa and continues to have an enduring impact on both mining towns and rural labor-sending areas. Mining industry and the historical, colonial and apartheid legislative framework which continue to perpetuate then the inhumane condition of exploitation. Lest we forget all of this. 45 people lost their lives that week. We must go far beyond the scent folder and the cell phone records of one man and seize the opportunity that the Farlam Commission report asks us to reflect on in pursuit of all those who remain terribly hurt. The ANC, as the leader of society, believes the sanctity of life and that everything should be done to avoid death, and as such in Parliament, we look forward at the implementation of a list of interventions that was agreed upon, even those that were done in the draft agreements between government, business and labour. There were many of them that were done that spoke about strengthening the regulatory certainty in mining industry, reducing the employer indebtedness. 12 micro lenders have been closed in Rustenburg as a result of these initiatives, as well as the monies that has been set aside by government dedicated to all the distressed mining communities in quite a number of the areas. So too, the socio-economic conditions of facilitating both large and small-scale industrial projects in 15 mining towns. These and many more the ANC-led government had committed itself to do and continues to do, Honourable Madisha. These include mobile units for neighbouring countries such as Lesotho and Swaziland. Mining companies should also contribute seriously as they are obliged to do in terms of the mining rights license. Never and never again must a tragedy of this kind occur on the soil of a democratic South Africa. And in this regard, we have a responsibility to critique the report in terms of its term of reference in its findings. To critique the report on matters it was not set up to investigate would be a reflection of a lack of integrity and shallow debating ability by the individual or organizations that they represent. The balance of evidence as established by the Commission is what should seize the debate and not what we have heard today. All sorts of intrigues, all sorts of skullduggery, rumor mongering, and being attracted by the phenomena that arises from these tragic incidents. Having said that, Honourable Chairperson, members, as political parties, ours is to contextualize the Commission of Inquiry, as no Commission of Inquiry is set up in a vacuum. Any incident it investigates is within a particular context, and therein we must express an opinion to inquire, to investigate the violence with the intention to establish what caused it and to act on its findings. Our call was for the cause and the circumstances of all the deaths, including those of the miners, the police, the security, and that once the inquiry was completed, it should be followed by the stern action to ensure that justice is carried out. The ANC Special NEC further appealed then to all South Africans that no one should use the regrettable tragedy for political and opportunistic reasons. The ANC will commit and continue to commit itself to work with all stakeholders and communities in the ongoing development of the mining communities. We reaffirm the importance of organized labor, fighting for the improvement of working conditions of mine workers and restoring their dignity as human beings, and reassert the importance of unity and working together to protect the rights of organized working class who themselves remain vulnerable in society. This strategy cannot be used to further divide our country. If anything, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members, we should seek to unite our people to ensure that such never happens again. The right to peaceful strike action in South Africa is sacrosanct, and we welcome the recommendations by the Commission to strengthen the capacity of the state to discharge its duties of public order policing, amongst others. We call on government to urgently implement all these recommendations of the Commission. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable September. Agbara Letswart.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the ACDP has noted the report in which Lonman, trade unions, AMCU, NUM, and the SAPS have been singled out for criticism by the Commission. Now, the SAPS undoubtedly bore the brunt of the criticism in the findings and recommendations, with the Commission criticising the tactical response option chosen, which resulted in these tragic loss of 34 miners. But let us also remember that 11 others were killed the previous week, including policemen. More alarmingly is that the Commission also found that senior management of the SAPS misled the Commission when testifying. And this is clearly very serious, and it is consequently little wonder that the Commission recommended, and President Zuma followed that recommendation, that Police Commissioner Miecha face an inquiry into the terms of the Police Act as to whether Miecha is fit to hold office or not. Now, we believe the Police Commissioner should in fact be suspended pending the finalisation of such an inquiry, given the severity of these allegations against her. But furthermore, whilst it appears that no adverse findings were made against other political office bearers, we are disappointed that the Commission did not find or hold former Police Minister Nathi Mthethwa, let's get it right, Mthethwa, or his deputy accountable. Now, one aspect that we and our leader, Reverend Meshwe, did raise, and that has not received sufficient attention, is the role of Sangomas in this whole issue. A statement of an undercover security superintendent was handed in to the Commission. Read page 106 of the report. And this confirms that a Sangoma promised miners that they would not need to fear firearms or bullets, that the bullets would jam, that there'd be a jamming of the firearms, and that bullets would turn to water. Now, these are very serious allegations, and it's interesting that regrettably the particular Sangoma, Mr. X, was murdered. Why was he murdered? Was there something that was hidden away? And we believe this is an aspect that should further have received investigation, because whilst it doesn't exonerate the police, we believe it could have contributed to the volatile aspects when you see what happened at the beginning. Now, we also believe that the release of this report heralds the beginning of a lengthy legal processes. Many speakers have spoken about compensation, and we support those views. Compensation needs to be paid. It needs to be paid speedily, and regrettably, 3 years later, many of the families have not received compensation. But we do trust from the ACDP side that the release of this report will begin a process of healing for those who lost loved ones in this tragic massacre on the 16th of August, as well as for all South Africans in general who were shocked by the tragic events on that day and the days leading up to this tragedy. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Swart. Mhlonishwa Njaisa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think I've got to be very much careful here so that I can be allowed back to that corner. Otherwise, if I speak anything that is not in accordance, then I won't be allowed back to that corner. Honorable Chairperson, the people of Marikana, more especially the affected one, wanted some immediate steps to be taken to address that issue of Marikana. The report apparently seems not to have done that. The recommendations that are in the report now should form part of the long-term plan. Otherwise, something immediate now should have been done. The interests and the aspirations of the people now should be put first. It cannot be correct that the Marikana issue could have taken so long for the people to know exactly who killed their loved ones. It means now we've got to check our justice system and the police. The miners just wanted now to pay a mere living wage. It's very much interesting because these people could not even talk about percentage. They said they want 12,500 because percentage now would give them a problem. But these people now were shot and killed in cold blood. That is on purpose with the full intent. Police responsible for this deliberate and disheartening act were not arrested and charged. Yes, the unions and strikers now might have made some mistakes, but now the actual killers were supposed to have been arrested and charged. So I don't know what actually happened, because that was expected by the people. If you commit murder, then yours has got to be arrested. Investigation into what happened before should have occurred after the arrest and charging of these culprits. That is the killers. Because it's clear that the police, now it is the police that fired and killed these miners. That is the crux of the matter. Those who lost their lives are still looking forward to the telling of truth. They want these people now to be charged, and they are also expecting a form of compensation for this loss that they have suffered. Marikana issue, another break in the wall. So there are many of these pending issues. Democrats now should try to accommodate even those people at the grassroots level. The recommendation that I would have appreciated as AIC is the immediate and charging of these people. Yes, there are many recommendations in the report now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before I call on Honorable Kola Barnett, table staff, previously Honorable Kola Barnett raised a concern about her name being written in full. And I'm not going to apologize again. Please make sure that that happens. Thank you. Honorable Kola Barnett.
As a nation, we have gone through the shock, the anger, the grieving, and yet we're still unable to fully comprehend the horror of what we watched on television the day after the Marikana massacre. It took us back to that dark time of our history that no sane South African could ever wish to repeat. It was incomprehensible. It was inexcusable as the empty ANC benches today. The Farlam Commission has declared, and the Democratic Alliance has made a substantial submission to the President, motivating that the incumbent National Police Commissioner, Ria Piecha, be summoned to an inquiry into her conduct in relation to the 44 deaths at Marikana, into her fitness to hold her position. She blames her predecessor for the militarization of the SAP, something she's done absolutely nothing to counteract, but no spin by her media officer will erase the reality that she congratulated the SAPs for their actions on that fateful day. Nothing can erase the fact that she took decisions which she and her colleagues knew would result in bloodshed. Nothing can erase the damning findings of the Commission, through which are scattered such words relating to her evidence as inappropriate, unsatisfactory, unconvincing, omissions, misleading, and most damning, she had no policing expertise and experience whatsoever. Well, whose fault is that? There is not a SAPS member she hasn't personally appointed who believes that a career officer would have taken the politically tainted decision she took then and continues to take today. So whose fault is that? Who appointed this totally inappropriate civilian? The President. 3 strikes in a row by President Jacob Zuma, and with the horrors of this massacre before us added to a soaring murder rate, the buck stops with him. Yes, he fired the Minister Nathi Mthethwa, who must be held accountable for the Mdluli-era crime intelligence debacle that crippled the division, rendering ineffective in not only preempting but also properly responding to the events at Marikana. That minister must be held accountable because instead of providing a visionary leadership in the country in which society has seemingly normalized excessive violence, he sat back. He sat back. The President hired her and Becky Cele and Jackie Celebi, civilians all. And what has he done to ensure another Marikana never happens? Has he proffered steps via the Labour Minister to work with the Labour regime, ending closed shop agreements, recognizing non-NUM or non-COSATU unions, introducing a culture of democracy and union activity? No. Is the current Minister of Police occasionally looking away from fire pools and chickens that threaten the President? Demilitarization, training, public order policing, crime intelligence? No, he's fixated on the fixtures at Nkandla. Is the Minister of Minerals and Energy accepting culpability and creating policy uncertainty that discourages investment? Is he reconsidering the efficacy of the mining charter and achieving redress and reconciliation? No. We must bow our heads in mourning, but we must also lift our eyes to the future. We do not underestimate the complex web of socio-economic, political, and institutional factors that contributed to the violence in Marikana. But what will define us as a nation is how we treat the grieving survivors. It is a national shame that they've had to go to court to get the compensation that is rightfully theirs. The empty ANC benches today show South Africa that dead miners don't even show as a blip on their radar. Shame on you. Honourable September called the ANC the leader of society, yet they couldn't lead their members into this debate. Shame on you. You're sending more and more and more, you're sounding more and more like the old Nats in the old days, justifying the unjustifiable. Shame on you.
Honourable Deputy Minister of Mineral Resources concludes the debate.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson, honourable members, distinguished guests. The matter before us today is a very sensitive one, as it also involves the lives and suffering of real families who have lost their loved ones. It is therefore important that we in this august House of Parliament show compassion and support to all those families without exception and disabuse ourselves of the temptation to score cheap political points from the suffering of our people. It is one thing on a very busy road to indicate left and keep on turning right. It's dangerous that what the other members are doing here. And for the record, Honourable Deputy President Ramaphosa, the Commission had made no findings against him. So anybody who comes here and call him names, yesterday we were debating here that let's ask Karabulela Mashanu Ribu native. So even the other issues that you want to talk about is that we also note that the case of the families who have lost their loved ones during the tragic incident are still in the courts. We will therefore respect the sub judice rule in this House and await the outcome of the court. Because some people they go about promising people a lot of things which they know they can't deliver. If the case is in court, we've got to wait for the outcome. But also, please also remember the lives of the fellow workers who lost their lives in the hands of other workers. They also should be looked into, and I want to say here, working class solidarity was undermined by this very same act of workers killing fellow workers. It should never happen again in this country. There are those who claim, and at least Honourable Madisha was recognizing the doyens of trade unions on this side of the bench. But we also do know, like any other organization, COSATU has also produced its own factory faults. And we accept that. We must move on. The ANC has produced its own factory faults. So we must continue to ensure that we move forward. We therefore also want to say that this matter that says President Zuma doesn't care, the DA leader knows that is not true. The ANC cares, President Zuma cares, and I'll tell you why. And it's also it's also inappropriate for the DA leader to come and promise the people of South Africa that they will come and pass laws in this country, amend laws. They know that they can't do it without the ANC. And Honorable Kuala Barnard comes here to talk about empty benches. Who are the parties who run away every time out of the House when we've got to do parliamentary work? Who are they? Where is the DA and their friends? So let's continue. We must, you must know that we're able to pass laws without you. That is the African National Congress. Now, that is not the issue here. But you see, the issue of the workers and the working class. I've been a chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Labour for many years. The DA has always been against the workers of this country when they want their rights. Now, DA chameleon that comes here and changes. They have been here since apartheid times. They have been defending white privilege against the working class of this country. So you cannot go on changing colors and think that you'll fool us. You'll fool yourself, but you'll never fool the people of South Africa. We therefore must actually commend His Excellency President Jacob Zuma for his swift leadership in this matter and also for appointing the Falam Commission. But also to thank those commissioners themselves for the sterling work that they have done. Now that the Commission and the Presidency have released this long-awaited report, what are the facts relevant today? This report is 652 pages long. So those honorable members who came here to talk about Nkandla is not in that report. Others came here about Obulela Kabaloi. There are no Balois in those reports. So let's forgive them that because they don't have the facts, they've got to just go all over. But we who have read the report, who understand as government that we've got to take responsibility, we understand that we're having this debate today on the 3rd anniversary of a tragedy that befell the mining industry and indeed the country as a whole in August 2012. The Marikana tragedy, amongst other things, brought into sharper focus the importance and impact of mining in the lives of South Africans. The decisive action by the President to establish the Commission of Inquiry, as well as signing the special presidential package in response to the economic challenges facing South Africa and the economy beyond mining, has demonstrated bold leadership on the part of the ANC-led government. The results of the commission were followed by a response from all relevant government departments, including the Department of Mineral Resources. Honorable Kola Barnett is Department of Mineral Resources, not Mineral Energy. Don't come and mislead us here. In October 2012, the President led the signing of a social accord not confined to the mining industry only, with government, business, and labor, referred to as Special Presidential Package, which made a number of commitments. Part one of that commitment is restoring confidence in labor market institutions, addressing income inequality, and building cohesion. Part two, the accord also, the action is to combat violence and lawlessness. Part three, addressing socio-economic challenges. In July 2013, the Framework Agreement for Sustainable Mining Industry, as mandated by the President, was established as a tripartite alliance between government, labor, and business to uphold the rule of law, peace and stability, strengthen labor relations, improve living and working conditions of mine workers, to provide short to medium-term measures to support growth and stability, and to identify long-term merger prospects. In late 2012, the Interministerial Committee for the Revitalization of Distressed Mining Communities was established to address Part 3 of the Social Accord, specifically to address socio-economic challenges in the mining district and their labor-sending areas. The IMC has so far achieved the following outcomes relating to revitalizing distressed mining. In other words, what I'm saying is that we have not been sitting and waiting. We have acted throughout up to now and it's Yakuba. In ensuring that the rule of law and peace and stability happens, in terms of ensuring that there is stability within the mining towns and surrounding communities. Following the labor unrest, the stakeholders have established a mine crime combating forum. In fact, the forums are in nine clusters where mining activities occur. The initiatives to bring about peace and stability includes awareness campaigns, engagement with local chiefs and mine owners, and engagements with employees to desist from violence and intimidation. There is continuous monitoring of strikes and demonstration with direct involvement of provincial joint operation centers and national joint operation centers. A task team has been established comprising senior representatives from police, detectives, NPA, and the justice to monitor and review mining strike-related cases. There is also noticeable substantial reduction in illegal labor marches and protests in mining towns. The Department of Mineral Resources has recently released a mining charter assessment result, and non-compliance orders are currently being issued. The migrant labor system has been the backbone of the mining industry in South Africa and continues to have an enduring impact on both mining towns and rural labor-sending areas. Stakeholders in the mining sector are currently considering a recently completed report on improving key elements of the migrant labor system. Approximately 66 public sector housing projects are currently being implemented in the 15 prioritized mining towns.
Well, there has been a live debate from Parliament, and that's how we wrap the parliamentary debate on the Marikana report by the Phalam Commission. And the Commission investigated circumstances leading to the deaths of 44 people at Lonmin's Marikana mine in August 2012. And most opposition parties, as you've been listening in Parliament, today called on government to compensate the families of the 37 miners killed at Marikana. ANC MP Cornelius September told Parliament that the ruling party is serious about implementing the recommendations of the Marikana Commission, this to avoid a repeat of such a tragedy. And she said such a situation should never be repeated. September says the migrant labor system created under apartheid led to the conditions in which the Marikana killings occurred. The ACDP Steve Swart said Police Commissioner Ria Pieka should be held accountable for the heavy-handed police action that led to the 34 miners' deaths. Well, meanwhile, AFF leader Julius Malema has accused government of premeditated mass murder of the 34 miners in Marikana in 2012. Well, PM News comes to an end at this time, and Question Time with Mbotswedi Tsedu is up next. From me, Colin, it's ciao ciao.